What's going on, guys? Handsome Homebuyer here. And for the first podcast of 2021, we went big, huge. I brought together 5 of the top real estate professionals on Long Island in a rapid fire speed dating format, 10 minutes a pop, and you are going to love it. Anything from finance to architecture to one of the top 200 home builders in the country. You want it, you need it, you asked for it. Handsome delivers. Check it out. Yeah, kids, welcome back to another episode of the Handsome Homebuyer Podcast. My name is Charles, AKA the Handsome Homebuyer, AKA Captain Permit, AKA El Julio Maravilloso. Okay, we're going to jump right into this. Everybody knows who I am, what I do. I want to buy it. We do permits. You name it. I got it. So we have a rapid fire speed dating-esque podcast set up. I'm calling it the Titans of Long Island real estate. We have 5 absolute superstars, and I mean superstars in their respective industries, from construction to home building to workouts to finance to affordable housing to architecture, you name it. We're going to jump right into it with my man, my I feel like he's like my uncle. That's my uncle, my second father, my former professor, and now my friend, my compadre, mi padre, James Robert Sellinger. Yo!
So would you go speed dating with an uncle?
Yeah, no, probably not with an uncle because of that whole like third head, extra leg thing. You can't do the whole family thing. But okay. I think I'm adopted. I think you adopted me.
Well, I am honored to be here. You are the man. And you asked me if I would just introduce myself. I was honored to be a professor at NYU. I'm also a real estate finance person and somebody who's passionate about green, and I'd rather sort of get into things. But one last thing, just because I'm more your uncle than your compatriot, I have seen 3 real estate downturns in my life. So my purview and my view of life is having a few white hairs and having seen some downturns and thinking that's great. It's just like a snow globe that's been shaken up.
I would rather have white hair than what I have right now, which is no hair. So you won't get any sympathy from me on the hair in the hair department. But yeah, so there's a couple of things I want to jump into in the 8 minutes that we have remaining. I want you to give people like a quick kind of 30-second rundown of your workout experience and what you've done in banking, because it's fascinating. And it also kind of lends to like what you and I were talking about yesterday, a tremendous amount of opportunity that's going to be coming down the pipe, you and I think, this year.
So I've been through 3 downturns, including the Great Recession, the savings and loan crisis, and the Asian contagion. And anybody in real estate who has been around sees that sometimes there's uncertainty, but I think the beauty of it is that people who are talented and are experienced and knowledgeable rise. And so just to put in a plug for NYU, your background will serve you well with that skill set. I've worked for buyers and sellers of real estate, of loans. I've most recently was managing the distressed debt book for a major bank in PR. So I've done workouts in bankruptcy and I've seen a lot of distress. And that gives me reason for optimism because I think it creates a repricing opportunity and it sort of eliminates the people who are just in this for enjoyment and gets back to sort of a more realistic pricing. But I do think there will, as we were talking yesterday, I do think there'll be opportunities for perhaps not because that we're overbuilt as a nation or as a northeastern or tri-state market, but opportunities because owners or investors overpaid and they're running out of cash. And so there'll be opportunities to buy those where the prior sponsor owner's equity is toast and you can get in something closer or below cost.
So a lot of people, especially, I mean, my generation being 41, I experienced the Great Recession. So I remember what it's like. But people that are younger, like if you're 32 or younger, you don't remember what a recession is like. Of the last 3 recessions you've been through, is it obviously what triggers them is different, but is the result really the same? And then how can investors position themselves to really take advantage? Because people make money in downturns. It's plain and simple. You buy low, you ride the wave, you wait for the next drop.
Cash is king. I think it may be closer to the Great Recession, where there was a lot of money that was raised by funds with assets under management and asset management fees that were burning through. The funds were available, and there wasn't enough product. In the savings and loan crisis, there was, tons of opportunity. In the last downturn, there was sort of more limited bank closures and more limited distress. And so therefore, a lot of that dry powder was unspent.
As compared to, my concern actually now is that, are you concerned at all about inflation? Are you concerned at all about, the next downturn? Are you concerned about, politics playing a role into this? Is it just need to shake out, or do you feel like we're already on the way out of this?
So I think this is driven by the problems with COVID and the fact that the economy basically shut down for a number of months. I think it's accelerated trends that have been underway for a decade, and it basically just put it on fast forward. After working from home, will people be going into offices? Will people be permanently shopping online versus going to a mall? Those kind of things. But you don't see, this is not sort of an overhang of a lot of real estate product that was built and then is just waiting for buyers. I think the question is how those assets are what's the highest and best use of some of those assets, and maybe they're not their original purpose. May be an old story, and savvy real estate investors have to look to see where the next opportunity is.
Yeah, no, so when we come at this, do you think it's going to be like another roaring 20s type of scenario? I mean, I'm with you in the sense that people think that COVID really shocked the world, and it did. But when I look at everything that's going on, when you look at retail, even restaurants, the digitization of our society has been going on for the last, 10 plus years, 10 years about, and COVID just kind of dumped gasoline on that. So, real estate is like a slow turning ship, I always say. But now I think everyone just realized that it's a different world.
I mean, I think there's a bunch of sectors that people should be looking at. I think affordable housing is going to be a major sort of political real estate issue, and something that I know you have a big focus on, and help your local communities by providing that service. I think it's going to be a major political issue as to how affordable is housing, what are protections for homeowners as well as renters, and is there enough affordable housing? I think another issue is I'm very passionate about the greening of the built environment. And under the Biden administration, I think there's going to be tons of incentives to help the built environment, which is a major, at least in the New York area, a major user of global greenhouse gases, to make the transition. So I think people should be looking for those opportunities to sort of upgrade and get, performance boosts using some grants or subsidies or cheap money.
What do you think about like last?
You go up and talk about green.
Well, I was going to touch on green. I know that we're not getting out of a conversation with talking about green, and rightfully so. We should. I really want to do green. I really want to build green. I really love the cool stuff that we talk about geothermal and solar and building developments that you can take off the grid. And I really hope that the current administration or the new administration enables developers like ourselves in the suburbs who have a lower density builds to make it affordable, because that would be great.
I think there is an overlap with sort of the results of COVID. Because sustainability managers, especially for office product, are in the forefront of helping to encourage tenants to come back and say, this is a healthy building, the HVAC system works, no volatile organic compounds. Come back, this is a safe environment, touchless elevators, touchless lobbies, all that kind of stuff. So I think there is some overlap.
So I know you're a Connecticut guy, but you spend enough time in New York City and you've worked in New York City for years. I would just love to get your kind of opinion on what's going on in New York City now. Do you see opportunity there? Do you think investors should wait? Because people have been saying to me the last 6 months, oh, it's go time in New York City. For me, I don't feel like it's gotten, I hate to say it, bad enough. I think you're going to have to wait like another year or so. And then I think more opportunities. But I don't know if New York will ever be what it was before. I'm curious to get your feedback on that.
So I've seen a lot of press. About 6 months ago, Jerry Seinfeld had an editorial in the New York Times basically saying, is there any other place in the world that you'd rather be? I lived in Brooklyn for over a decade. I love New York, a long time New Yorker, even though I grew up humbly in Boston. But I think that gateway cities are always going to be in demand, especially for smart capital and for young people who want to be where the action is. It may look different, but I think New York's beauty and sort of ability to reinvent itself will make it on the forefront. There was some other recent article just about some of the instability post-COVID. But I think what's happening today in Washington is really important because, people want safe capital and the rule of law. And so I think that it's going to be important to reinforce the fact that the rule of law is strong and that people can invest in the United States, and that will keep international money flows coming back.
James, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to shoot up to our next guest. If there's anybody out there, and I mean anybody, who needs any kind of financing, commercial financing in any capacity, this gentleman has pulled unbelievable miracles for me. In the middle of COVID, I lost all my financing on a huge deal. Literally in 30 days, we got it taken care of. Reach out to me. I'm happy to give you his information. He's one of the best out there. James, I love you. I'll see you soon. Thank you.
I'm honored. Keep up the great work.
Bam! Next guest. Look at this guy. Dude, you threw the glasses on?
Listen, let me tell you. How's it going, brother?
Bro, I'm telling you. So this is my man, John Larounis. We met at NYU. Super smart, super savvy Long Island guy, completely changing the game in the affordable housing space. He's going to different countries building affordable housing. I mean, you look fantastic. You look like you've been working out. You got the cap shoulders. I see it through the shirt, which is a big deal. The hair has never looked better. Put the glasses on for a second.
Let me tell you, I see you on Instagram. I see, I watch, don't get me wrong, I watch. And I want people to realize that the person that, you see on social media, that is you to a T. I mean, that's through, nights on end at NYU and sitting next to you. The first time we met, I saw this guy with a bald head and a hat like the one you're wearing with Converse skulls on, right? And he did the salsa as soon as he walked in front of the whole class of NYU, students. And I was like, who the hell is this? Who is this? Well, lo and behold, there we are.
Like, I got to be friends with that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So listen, I want you to give people like the quick 60-second, but not so quick 60-second rundown about who you are, where you work, and what you do.
Yeah. So it's an honor. My name is John Larounis. I am a development project manager for MDG Design and Construction. I joined the development team 3 years ago when I first started NYU. And it was a great opportunity. And that's what kind of NYU does, is it offers people a barrier to entry into markets that are kind of hard to get into. So having the ability to go to NYU and get into MDG was amazing. In the last 3 years, we've been working tremendously hard in the affordable housing space. MDG was started in 1988 to be exact. And all we do is affordable housing, 100% affordable housing. The guys that started it are still there today. And over the last 30 years, they've done, 20,000 units of affordable housing. We've got about 3,000 units in pre-development. And it's a real incredible experience to be a part of such a small team that has a really wide net. And especially in a industry and niche that's extremely hard to get into and to really understand.
So John actually piqued my interest in affordable housing, and I'm going to have him kind of explain for everybody what affordable housing is and these low-income housing tax credit deals, and at a very high kind of brief level how it works. But I mean, affordable housing is a massive need there is tremendous opportunity for developers to both help society by doing a good, and you can make a ridiculous amount of money the way this is set up with the right programs, but it is unbelievably difficult. I took a class at NYU with the ex-head of NYCHA. What was her name?
You got it.
That's all right. Regardless, she was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Nobody knows more about it than her. And I spent an entire semester ingrained and just entrenched in it. And I still feel like I only know like 5% of what I need to know. So can you kind of quickly give people kind of set the record straight on what affordable housing is, how the credit programs work, and how there's, different tiers based on AMI and what that is?
Yeah, sure. And I think you hit it to the T. It's an extremely interesting and difficult to understand industry. And that's why being able to work with MDG is incredible, because they really are the pioneers in New York City, more specifically, and starting to really branch out. But being able to understand how these programs work, there are incentives to build affordable housing. And that was the biggest thing is when I first reached out to Matt, who's the CEO at MDG, I reached out to him in an inbox on LinkedIn saying, hey, I'm an NYU student. I'm trying to, get into the industry. And that's kind of how I started. But I really didn't know what affordable housing is. And I think there's this negative connotation about what affordable housing is. And it's a negative one, right? But people don't really understand what affordable housing is. It's a huge umbrella. It encompasses people with lower income. There is that Section 8, but there's more than that. Kids that are just getting out of college that are going into the FDNY, prime example, they make between $30,000 and $40,000 a year. That's impossible if you're trying to live on your own in Long Island, it's impossible to live. You're rent burdened beyond belief. So affordable housing it's a huge realm of different opportunities. There's low-income housing tax credits, like you had mentioned. There's historic tax credits. There's, vouchers that are offered by different municipalities. And each housing authority or housing finance agency has these various incentives for developers to utilize. And yes, you are restricted by, the market rent, call it, but there's incentives for developers to utilize these programs. But MDG kind of takes a standpoint. There's a holistic approach to what we do. It's more than just the developer fee. It's more than just building the next big building or rehabilitating the next giant site. It's about providing the community and the residents with the quality of life they deserve and warrant, right? So you look at dilapidated housing, or you look at just the barrier to entry into affordable housing. There's not enough affordable housing. The affordable housing stock that there is, it needs to be rehabilitated. It needs to be brought up to the standards that everybody requires. So it's an incredible opportunity to get into. And yeah, there are barriers to entry, but it's such a small niche group of developers that MDG and some of the other big names work with other developers, co-developing on different projects and, providing the insights and, whether it's the guarantees or what have you, to really, get more people involved and developers involved. And I think that's what we've had conversations. We got to do something. We've been saying it, but at the same token, being able to bring affordable housing to Long Island is huge. It's not there, right?
I'm trying, dude. We're gonna do it. You and I, we are gonna do it.
Yeah,
we're gonna be on the front page of some magazine, like yin and yang, me with no hair, you with the best hair, and we're gonna do something fantastic. So I just want people to understand too, from a developer, like from my opinion standpoint, when I look at your team, for what you guys do, you have a very, very, very lean operation. So you have a development team that consists of how many people?
Right. Yeah. So it's interesting. MDG is vertically integrated. And really for a long time, the construction team had most of the forefront because we are vertically integrated. So we have a development team, a contractor arm, and a property management arm. And our contracting team is one of the best in New York City. They completed 1,400 units of moderate rehab, affordable housing in 9 months. We're just completing another 1,100 units. And I think by the end of this year, we're closing on another 1,600 units in one massive site with the New York City Housing Authority. But the new team, I guess you could call it, is the development team. And there's only, I think, 6 or 7 of us that are really working on 3,000 units of affordable housing, to the tune of $1 billion, right? But
how do you manage that? Like,
MDG development team loves coffee. It truly stems from the top, in the sense that the guys that started it are still there every morning at 6:30, and if they're there at 6:30, I'm there at 6:30, and the rest of the team is, and they really set the foundation for a really strong and tight-knit team, and it's awesome. But the cool thing about what we do at MDG is that we have the ability to be creative, right? Market rate housing is awesome, right? You can create the most unique design elements and really, create that next level. But you can do the same thing with affordable housing. Like you had mentioned with, Mr. Sellinger, is that, green engineering and all these different unique aspects, right? Moving towards that next era. We're doing that in affordable housing. It may not be, the higher market rate rents, but at the same token, we're doing passive housing. We're doing solar. We're doing all these very cool and unique design elements because we can, because the funding is there and the opportunities are there to utilize the tools. But, we're providing it for our next door neighbor and providing it for those that actually, need the help that they require. So it's a cool opportunity.
So, and just so people understand, you are doing this, I can't even say across the country, you're doing it in other countries as well.
Okay. So, right. What you're alluding to is.
Can we not talk about it?
Yeah, we can talk about it. Absolutely.
Like my club? Okay.
So indeed. So a big part of what I like to do is source new opportunities. And, I got a tab on Google. I click it every Monday and it's got, about 100 or so different links to different sites. One of which we hit on last year, and it was with the U.S. Virgin Islands Housing Authority. As a territory, they are entitled to the same, government programs that, New Yorkers are and people in Puerto Rico. So, that there's a housing authority in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And fortunately, I've been placed on the development team that goes down to St. Croix, and we're doing 600 units of affordable housing. We're doing mod rehab as well as new construction. It's a lot and it's exciting. It's fun. And the people that we're working with at the housing authority are incredible. So I'm actually going down there on Monday.
So there's a lot of I want people to understand there's a lot of very cool opportunities and avenues in affordable housing. And, it, like with all parts of real estate, it's as big or as little as you want. So, John's going in and renovating, 1,500 NYCHA units while the people are actually living in the apartments, which I still don't understand exactly how they go and do that, to, doing 2 families in the Rockaways, to, building massive developments in other territories. So it's really anything you want it to be.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's the one thing, one thing I want to interject about is so MDG is a small family company with a very big footprint, but there's only a minute amount of people actually working in the development team, for example. But yet we're working on sites that are 1,600 units, and we're working on, a single story building with 24 or 42 units. And we're partnering with developers that, are on the big scale and on the smaller scale, just because, we want to help those that are in need, and we want to help developers also get to that next level. And being a part of it is that exciting and fun thing to do.
So in 60 to 120 seconds, which is virtually impossible, but if anybody could do it, it's you. People do not understand the concept of bonds, developer fees, and low-income housing tax credits. Can you give the abridged version just so people know they can reference it?
Right. So, you go onto the Housing Finance Authority website or various other government agencies, and there are term sheets, right? So you follow the term sheets, and there's 4% and 9% lag tech credits. And in your development budget, there are applicable items that go towards these tax credits, right? So you get the tax credits, and you're regulated on the amount of income or average median income that a resident can have. You can income average, or you have to stay below 60% AMI, right? So if the AMI, average median income, is $100,000, $60,000 is 60% AMI, and therefore, if I'm making $60,000, I qualify, and then I pay a certain percentage of rent based upon that AMI level. And in doing so, right, the rent that comes into the project is not as high as it is market rate, right? But then there are developer fees, and there are various other incentives for developers to make money, right? You have to pay the bills, keep the lights going. So it helps those that are in need, and it helps companies build affordable housing and get to that next project. So it's very difficult, but we could chat.
It is absolutely awesome. You're fucking awesome. I miss seeing you, man. I love you. Your skin looks fantastic. Keep it up. Let's go get facials. Tell your wife I said hello, and I'll talk to you soon.
We got to go to that restaurant.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Good.
Later, man. Thank you. I appreciate your time. This is great. All right. Next date up on the speed dating lineup.
Yo.
Bam! Yo, there he is. Good to see you, man. Yo, we're like, I feel like I'm looking at myself.
You're looking good, man.
I'm not. I have to. So I've just been growing it because I know that I'll butcher it. But you got it. You got it perfectly lined up.
I need to take a trip to the barbershop. They get it nice and good for me, but right now it's kind of
okay. So you're not one of those people that just has the eye and does it themselves.
No. I mess it up. I butcher it too.
But it looks like, yo, it's great to see you, man. Everybody, Rob Menino, the Colca Group, great friends of mine out east on Long Island, doing big things in every sector of real estate. Rob, do me a favor in 1 to 2 minutes, let's say, give everybody a background on, who you are personally, where you came from, what you do with Colca, and then ultimately what Colca is about and what you guys are doing.
Awesome. Yeah. First of all, I love what you're doing, man. I've been watching it. Everybody's very knowledgeable, learning a ton of stuff. I love it. So good job.
Thanks, man.
So Colca's been in business for 46 years. We've been a construction management company, primarily built all over Long Island. We built like 500 buildings, 22 or 25 million square feet at this point. I think the number is, a couple $1 billion worth of construction. And Jack Colca, who founded it in 1974, left us a great foundation. Then about 3-4 years ago, Devin took over the company, Jack's son. Devin's kind of taken it to Colca 2.0. About 3 years ago, I joined up with Devin to kind of shoot it into the next generation of Colca, which we've now kind of created this vertically integrated approach like MDG was just talking about, where we're doing more development, we're doing more brokerage, more property management, doing capital consulting, and really kind of feeding off of our construction arm, because that's the core, that's the bread and butter, that's what we've always done, and that's what we're best at. But we're kind of branching off into these other services, and it's been real exciting.
Yes, you guys are essentially building a real estate empire. And I think, there's so many facets to real estate and being entrepreneurial. Like, I'm the same way. You see so many, basically, I mean, in my case, this stuff came from a need. Like, I was a real estate investor, and then I needed all these, ancillary services to get what I needed to get done. And I ultimately couldn't. So then I start building companies, which I really didn't want to do, but it becomes necessary. And you guys are doing that. I mean, on steroids. You've really embraced the social media. And there's nobody out there in the space doing what you guys are doing. The smart thing you did is you took what you were great at. You're always perfecting that, and then you use that as a launch pad for all these other things like brokerage and property management and doing development deals, et cetera.
Yeah, it's very similar for us too, right? It was things that we were already doing for ourselves. Like, we have building, we're managing it. We're looking for deals on our own. We have a broker's license. It kind of evolved very naturally the same way. And one of the theories that we have that I think helps us tremendously is we feel like every company is two things, right? A technology company and a media company, right? We're very big on the social media, just like. Whoops, sorry, 1 second. Bear with me. Just like some of the stuff that you're doing, like, the podcast, we love it. So we really kind of embrace that media side, but we also have our core business, right? Our construction, real estate development. And what we've spent a lot of time doing is really architecting our software to be completely integrated across the board so that we could take a property from a concept all the way through to completion with capital platforms where investors get matched. It's like a match.com for investors, right? Like, it's sick. So you put a piece of property up there and you tell them what type of asset class it is, what's the projected return, what's the IRR, what's this, and it matches it with those best investors for that type of asset class with that investment type, that investment amount, and we kind of piece it all together, take it all the way through to property management, and it projects out all the returns. But at the core of it, again, there's a big construction portion in there that we're doing for the development piece, and that's our bread and butter, and that's what we're good at. So it kind of all just ties together.
So you're kind of setting up an investor plug and play. So you have an investor, you have an investment group, you have, hedge funds, private equity, Ascend, whatever it is. They have big capital. They come to you and you're like, listen, I'm going to handle all of it. I'm going to find the property for you. We're going to develop for you. We're going to manage it for you.
Exactly.
We can help raise funds if you want. Whatever it is, we're going to do. We can handle the marketing. We can handle, either the sales if it's condo or the rentals if it's a rental property. And I know you guys started out in industrial. That was Jack's big thing, but
Yep.
You've expanded into, multifamily, and you're doing all kinds of, government work with firehouses and all kinds of stuff. It's really exciting, man. It's really exciting to see.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, industrial is a big play for us right now. Just like, obviously industrial is really hot. There's different types of conversions. Big retail boxes are converting over to industrial, multifamily. Obviously, we all want our hands on it anywhere we could on Long Island, right? So we're always looking at multifamily. But yeah, we've essentially created this system where we're doing a lot of work with family offices, right? Family offices that have capital, want to make investments, but might not have those execution arms, and we could execute at any facet or any portion of the life cycle of the property. So maybe they come in to help us piece out the capital stack. Maybe they help us come in just for the development arm or the construction arm or whatever that might be. We're kind of that execution arm for a handful of family offices, and it's working out really well, and we could probably expand that into other things.
So as you talk about this, I selfishly want to ask you some stuff about what I'm interested in, which I like industrial. I've always liked industrial. My issue with industrial is I'm a pretty conservative guy. So either I'm making money and like real money out the gate because crazy stuff can happen. And if you're working on slim margins, the chances of you getting destroyed, especially in the commercial world, because everything in the commercial world takes forever. Just by design.
Yeah.
So,
and the smallest thing could break it all apart.
So I've been looking to get into the industrial space. Had I known about COVID, I would have just bought a bunch of industrial property anyway, because the prices went absolutely through the roof. But the biggest issue that I see with industrial right now is from a new development standpoint is it's not really penciling. Like, construction, meaning for new development, construction costs have gone through the roof, and we'll touch on that after. Are you seeing a lot of industrial deals that pencil from a new construction standpoint?
So yeah, we do, but people are getting real creative, right? So there's two things that come to mind, right? One is there's a huge demand for it, right? And prices, like you said, are going through the roof, not just on an acquisition side, but on a leasing side. Getting that light industrial, that last mile distribution, it's really tough for people. Like the products are just not out there. Inventory's low. So because of that, you can get a little bit more on the leasing end, which helps the numbers. But people are getting really creative on the construction side. We're doing a deal right now that's all tilt up, or precast even, right? Guys are getting real creative on their finishes and how the building's constructed, trying to save some dollars. We're doing some prefab stuff that's bringing the numbers down. So, if you get creative with it and you kind of keep those numbers down and keep your construction costs low, and now the demand, there's such a need for it. We are seeing some deals pencil out. In fact, I just saw a large deal that we did pre-con on for a huge industrial piece. I think it was like 450,000 square feet. And the guys we were dealing with, it ended up selling it, but it's going to go through and they're going to build it.
Are you starting to see, Long Island, everybody knows, very, very tough place to develop. There's not a lot of land. Zoning is very restrictive. It's the land of NIMBY. For those you don't know, it is not in my backyard. Are you seeing a lot of multi-story developments similar to like what they have in Manhattan, just because we don't have, the property out here, or everyone pretty much sticking to, one story right now?
No, we're seeing that vertical stuff going on. Not, obviously not Manhattan style, right? But a lot of towns are getting creative with like overlay districts. So Hotbog, for instance, in the industrial park, they just passed something where you can go up to, I think, 65 feet vertically. And what's nice is they also integrated a piece where they're going to bring in some multifamily. So we'll bring in some residential, some workforce housing. Brookhaven just passed something that's phenomenal. And well, it's either passed or it's about to pass, right? But it's a floating overlay district. Did you see that?
No, give me the dirt, man. What is it?
It's a floating overlay district. So basically anything that's distressed, any type of distressed retail or distressed properties, basically anywhere in Brookhaven, if they feel it's a good fit, they'll approve it for multifamily to go vertical, right? So
wow.
they're
when
trying.
you say vertical, how vertical is vertical?
It depends on the location, but you're usually looking at somewhere around 4 stories. 4 stories, which is nice, depending on where you are and what other zoning is around it.
So what I'm curious to ask you is, the biggest problems on Long Island with going vertical, where they always get you. I mean, forget about the height restrictions, yes, but it's parking. So parking is always a problem, especially in Nassau County, and it's out by you guys, it's septic. So the overall majority of Brookhaven doesn't have cesspools. Have you, been working on any of these developments where they're putting, these little like septic like plants there? Like, how are you guys handling the density given the issues with no sewer?
Yeah, so we'll do sewer treatment plants, right? We'll do sewer treatment plants, but it takes up a lot of space, right? So it's definitely more difficult than something that has sewer that are sitting on sewers. But 2 things that happen when you have to put in a sewer treatment plant. One is it takes up a lot of your space, so it's a little bit tough. The other thing is that it's a big investment, right? So sometimes it just doesn't work out because you're spending a lot of money to actually build that sewer treatment plant. So sometimes it's a little bit restrictive. We see a lot more deals in places that they're putting sewers, and there's places like Smithtown where sewers are coming in, Kings Park, St. James, the parts of Holbrook and things like that, where they have these plans to install sewers or sewers are already there. We're seeing a lot more development because they're making a big investment in the infrastructure. So
I want to kind of talk overall in general since COVID hit, and we touched on this when we had the podcast not too long ago. Anybody who's checking this out should really check that out. It was awesome. Rob dropped a bunch of gems about, just construction in general, how they're scaling, a lot of good information. But in like the next 60 seconds that we have, I want you to talk about, because we haven't hit on this, you and I, in a while, what happened as far as COVID in regards to, labor issues, as far as projects, shitting the bed or other projects that weren't supposed to go as a result of different demand, and what you guys have been dealing with on, the supply chain side, all of that.
Yeah, I mean, things got tough like everybody else, right? I think that the 2 biggest hurdles that come to mind for me with COVID is, 3, right? One is labor. We had a really hard time, not so much for us, because we do a lot of our business is construction management. We sub out, we don't self-perform anything. So we're subbing all that work out. But our subcontractors had a very hard time providing labor on some of the job sites. So that was a big thing for us, especially when unemployment was through the roof and we couldn't get guys to come out. Guys were losing big contracts just because they couldn't man the job. So that was a hurdle for us. Financing, like anybody else. Deals were falling through just because financing was tough. Banks didn't know what was going on. Banks didn't know whether they should loan, financing was a big issue. And some people deals fell through because their finance changed tremendously. And because of all those things, right? Financing, uncertainty, deals were just falling through. People were afraid, not only from a bank standpoint, but for private money, people were afraid to invest money. People were afraid to pull the trigger. So there was projects that they just held off on, right? So all the projects that we felt like we're going to start in this winter obviously held off. So we're feeling the lull right now. We're feeling a little bit tough where jobs that we thought were going to start last year didn't. And obviously we deal with long-term projects, right? So a couple projects get pushed off. You feel the pain. So we felt like jobs were going to start last winter. We're hoping now they could start in the spring and pick back up again. But I think that hopefully people loosen up a little bit if we don't have this second wave and this second run, and which it feels like we are. But if we don't have it, hopefully people loosen up a little bit and get a little bit more comfortable with investing the money. But I think that it was really tough from a financing perspective. A lot of deals kind of just were on hold or shit the bed completely,
I appreciate it, bro. We're out of time. I really appreciate you taking the time out. You're a brilliant man. I love you. Thank you for being a great friend. And everybody check out the Kolka Group. They're doing unbelievable things. They got Kolka Interactive, got a ton of content from Long Island's best in the real estate space. Very, very, very cool concept. My hat goes off to you.
You're the man. Love what you're doing. Keep it up. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, brother. All right. So in my dating life and my men, I appreciate the younger ones, and I also appreciate the little bit more mature ones. With that said, our next guest Mr. David Mammina. Now, Mr. Mammina, can you hear me over there?
Sure can. How you doing, sir?
I'm great, thank you. I want to give a quick introduction to you, and then I want you to fill the people in kind of about what your background and what you do. But
Sure.
so, I want to tell you I'm very impressed that you got this whole high-tech thing going, because I myself struggled with this tremendously. So thank you. David Mammina is an absolute architectural legend, specializing in assisted living. Him and I are working on a number of projects together right now with his firm H2M, which he's a partner, which is H2M the largest in New York State?
Not quite the largest in New York State, but I mean, there are some monster giants, but right now in New York State, we're the 26th largest firm, and we've got 500 employees now. We're multidisciplined. We have 7 offices, and of our 500 employees, almost 200 of them are architects. And then, of course, we have MEP, fire protection. We do sewage treatment. I heard Mr. Menino speaking about that. I've got a couple of thoughts and things on that as well. So it's very diversified.
Yeah, no, I mean, for any of my commercial development, H2M is the architecture firm that I use for everything, and they've done an unbelievable job. So in about 1 to 2 minutes, if you can give people kind of a background of your extensive experience, where you came from, what you specialize in, and what you currently do now.
Sure. I guess I've been very fortunate, in my career to have a very varied background. There's virtually not a building type that you could name that I haven't done, and done on a firsthand basis. I worked for a very large firm in the city when I first got out of school, and then after that I went to a smaller firm, about 14 people, and I was there for 9 years. And I mean, that was where I really earned my my stuff there, and I learned an enormous amount. I left there after 9 years, and I went into my own practice, which I had for 28 years before H2M then purchased my firm in 2013. So we're going into our 8th year there now. And as a result of that, as you said, assisted living, nursing homes, healthcare. I mean, that certainly is a specialty. When I went into practice in 1987, I said, okay, where will there always be a need for architecture? And I said, that's healthcare. But at the same time, I do an enormous amount of multifamily residences, buildings. I mean, right now we have a 15-story building under construction, poured in place concrete in Manhattan, on York Avenue and 86th Street. And, I've done, 30-story high-rise in Jersey City for the Left-Rack organization. I've probably done about 5,000 units of housing for them. But at the same time, we'll do we've got a 36-unit, townhouse project. That's fine. We do churches, we do synagogues, office buildings. Pretty much anything that you need. We're the private sector real estate department within H2M, which has many different factions within.
So, I mean, obviously you've been around a long time. You've seen a lot of different, changes in market cycles. Actually, before I go into there, the one thing I wanted to say to you, which always impressed me the most, is even how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
67.
So 67 years old. When I work with you, your passion for what you do just kind of, radiates. And with no disrespect, at your age or at any age, it's very, very rare that you meet people that truly love what they do. Like, you're sending me emails on like a Tuesday at 11 o'clock at night about, architecture and designs and things that we're doing. And it's awesome to be a part of. Yeah.
And I say, this is my happy place here, and it always has been. To me, architecture, is not a job. It's not even necessarily a profession per se. It's a way of life. And it's not a 9-to-5 thing. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In order to really, to have the type of background and experience that I've been so fortunate, to be exposed to, and at the same time, to take advantage of.
So, being on Long Island and doing this for so many years, what have you seen as far as the construction trends? How are things changing? How is COVID kind of impacting, what municipalities are looking for, what industries are starting to, really rise and excel, and what kind of developments do you see developers doing?
Well, we've been fortunate. I've been fortunate, as one of the partners, as one of the market leaders in private sector real estate, that I haven't really seen a slowdown. And even our larger projects, and we have a 238 unit housing project in Oceanside that's under construction now, and that's got a construction manager, Racanelli, is working that, and we're still pretty much on schedule. I mean, that was a big push on their side. That part doesn't have a lot to do with me per se, but the vast majority, almost 100% of my clients are owner builder developers like you, Charles, or Engel Berman is a group that we do a huge amount of housing, and assisted living, for. So their funding streams, are available still, and they've continued to move forward, with projects. I mean, the File organization, which is Andrew Ratner and Jeffrey File, look, they're being hurt, by people not paying rent and all of the things that everybody else is. But in terms of the municipalities, and I do have a municipal life on some level. I've chaired the zoning board in the town of North Hempstead for 30 years now, and it's a little bit more difficult dealing with the municipalities right now, because they're not doing face-to-face appointments, but they are doing Zoom. In addition to Long Island, I do a ton of work in the city, and the city plan examiners are doing Zoom reviews of your work, which is fantastic. But if you do the right thing and people know you're not a wise guy, and I'm not going to say move to the front of the line or that I get anything I shouldn't get, but I do find we get paid attention to. So from that perspective, it's been not so bad, for us. The toughest thing that I think we're having is that we've got a 50% of the work staff is working from home, and 50%, is in the office. I'm an extremely hands-on guy, as Charles, and I like to sit with my people, and I say I've got a pencil smudge mark that's right here on my hand because that's what I draw with, and so it's been an interesting time. But I would say, being as my age, there's, I've seen 4 recessions. Recessions are a tough time, but this has not been as bad.
So in the last 60 seconds, what I want to close out with, and you and I have never actually talked about this, but it's something that I'm passionate about and would like to do. It's just the hardest part is getting the numbers to work. And, with the new administration coming in, I'm hoping there'll be some incentives that will allow developers to go more green. So, what have you seen on that front? Are you guys, designing more with green in mind, or developers coming to you more with green in mind?
Yes. And we've got 4 people who that really truly is their specialty. Here, the thing that I find though, generally with developer clients is it costs a lot of money to do a green building.
Yeah.
Just even the commissioning of a green building can cost $250,000. So, for that reason, it's been a little bit tougher. We will design to the standards, but, as to actually commissioning the buildings, we don't see a lot of that at this point.
Yeah. So hopefully there'll be some bonuses, some tax breaks, some grants, something, because that would be awesome. I really want to get into being involved in more green projects and taking developments off the grid. So Mr. Mammina, you're an absolute gentleman. It's a privilege to work with you. Thank you so much for spending your time. And I will see you tomorrow because we have a big day tomorrow.
That's right. Thanks so much, Charles. You're the best.
All the best. Thank you. All right. Last but not least, bam, there he is. Yo, great to see you, man. How you been?
What's going on?
I feel like it's been an eternity.
I know. It's a couple of years, right?
No, it's only been a year. It popped up on my Facebook the other day.
It feels like March of 2020 feels like it was 2 years ago at this point.
Dude, it's a crazy time, man. Well, it's great to see you. You look great. Yo, is it or is it not a great time to be a home builder flipper on Long Island? What do you think?
You must be having a field day.
Bro, it is when I tell you it is absolute pandemonium. I listed 2 houses for sale last week. There's 50, 60 people online wrapped around the block waiting to get into these places. Anything in the first time home buyer sector, like if you're in the sub 550 range, it is, and it doesn't matter where it is. I did a house in Wyandanch like 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. High ranch with a basement. The basement's that's a pretty cool thing for a high ranch. Yep. I listed it at $399. I sold it for $495, and we had 27 offers.
Oh my God.
It is absolute mayhem out there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I've been reading about how it's slowed down nationally, but we haven't seen that on Long Island yet. So hopefully it continues.
Well, so what I'm seeing, and I'm curious to know what you guys are seeing, because last time we spoke, you and I were kind of in this like not dicey area of the market, but you guys are building a ton of housing, and congratulations. Every time I turn left or right, I see another Beechwood development going up. So my hat's off to you. And but I was having a problem getting the kind of deal flow that I usually am. And you and I were talking about how people kind of make lateral moves, and they buy your housing based on selling what they currently have and then moving into like a condo or a townhouse type of deal. Yeah. And we were going back and forth like, is it going to keep up? Is the price going to drop? What's been going on with you over the last 9 months?
So we probably spoke early summer. When we left. It's only continued to get stronger. So, I think our worst feels, look, March, April, we were like, are we going to have a business after this? Are people going to be able to get mortgages? I mean, there was so much uncertainty. When the quarantine ended and you were allowed to go out and show houses again and sell houses, we found that there was a lot of pent up demand. And I think initially we were like, this is great, but is this a couple hundred people who are just moving out of the city because they're highly reactive to what went on? And then I think as spring turned into summer, summer turned into fall, and it became clear that this wasn't something that was going to go away immediately. It wasn't just going to disappear one day, and it was maybe going to be years in the making. And then on top of it, we had, all the protests and the riots in New York City and sort of the degrading of personal safety, increases in crime. I think those things all combined to contribute to continuing to push people out of the city to the suburbs. Like I said before, it hasn't stopped yet. And you never want to get into bubble territory, but I don't think we're there. I just think we're seeing people move out of New York to the suburbs who are planning to do it, next year, 2 years, 3 years from now. So look, it's been good. I hope it lasts. I wish it was good for better reasons, but we'll take it while we can get it.
I'm curious to know kind of who the people are that are buying your developments. Because with me, the people that are selling to me and the people that are buying, it's very, it's the same every single time. So I'm buying houses from people that have been on Long Island for many years, raised their kids, and they've just, had it and they're ready to go. And then I'm selling everything to people from the city. No question.
So our buyers are still the same. Our buyers are generally Long Islanders who, are empty nesters, don't want to deal with the maintenance of a big single family house anymore. They don't want to deal with, scheduling garbage pickup, cleaning the gutters, shoveling snow, dealing with the landscaper. But they've been stuck in their houses until they could sell their houses, right? And so when the market picked up, suddenly they're getting a lot more money for their houses than they would have a year ago. Yeah. But on top of that, they're actually selling very quickly. So our buyers are the people who've had their eye on our community for a long time, but are finally getting their house sold and are showing up in our sales center with their contract in hand saying, show me what you got. I'm ready to buy. We have, that's a, broad generalization. We have had buyers who have moved out of the city directly into a Beechwood community because, they wanted to move out of the city and they found us online, and it works for them. But broadly speaking, it's Long Islanders who are still buying our product.
So what I've been struggling with, and I'm sure you have too, and as soon as this happened, I actually immediately thought of you, and I was like, I hope he's doing okay, which is construction costs, bananas, labor shortage, and just big issues, just sourcing everything. Like I saw my costs on construction go 20 to 30%. It takes 3 times as long to get windows. A 2x4 went from $3 to $8. Like it was just nuts.
We've seen some of that too. Luckily, we buy lumber contracts on a 6-month going forward basis. So we've seen some increases, but it hasn't been as bad as I think for other people. We've seen the delays on appliances. We're now being forced to order appliances, windows, anything made with metal, months in advance. So it's presented more of a logistical challenge for us. I haven't really seen labor shortages. I think we're lucky in one sense. For a lot of our suppliers or subcontractors, we're their biggest client. So I'd like to think at least that that they're going to prioritize us. When it comes to whose job to staff that day. But I've definitely seen it in terms of lead times. There's no denying logistically it's become a lot more difficult.
Yeah, no, man, it's starting to ease up a little bit now. It seems like it's easier for me to get employees now to do construction, and people kind of slow down. I don't know what's going to happen when the weather gets a little bit nicer. Yeah. But I want to talk about the Selby.
Okay.
Because I drive by it all the time, and I got to tell you, man, it looks amazing. From my standpoint, that place went up fast.
Yeah. From my standpoint, it's never fast enough.
Yes. I that's why I said from my standpoint, but it's like every time I drive by, I'm like, wow, there's like another floor. I'm like, this place is magnificent. So just give people a little bit of background about, what is it, and, the tie into the Vanderbilt and what you're doing there.
So it's roughly 230 rental apartments and hotel rooms. So the concept is it's an apartment hotel, meaning you can rent an apartment like you would in a normal rental apartment building, or you can book a hotel room there for a night or 30 days. And the hotel component's a little bit smaller. Most of it is programmed as an apartment building, but in general, there's a lot of flexibility there in whether you want to live in an apartment or a hotel room. But the entire building gets hotel amenities. So we'll have a restaurant, we'll have a huge gym, we'll have a billiards room, we'll have like co-working space. Any amenity, a pool overlooking Eisenhower Park. So it's really it's a level of living. Every single apartment's going to have Viking stoves and refrigerators. It's like nobody has built anything like this in Long Island before, and it's really targeted towards empty nesters who want to rent on Long Island, but don't see product. And this was the same case with the Vanderbilt, and it's worked really well. There's not product out there that's up to their standards of living, whether it be finishes, size of apartments, or amenities. And so what we thought of the thesis in the Selby and in the Vanderbilt was, okay, we're going to build something that's up to their standards. We're going to take a Beechwood condo product and make it a rental apartment. And then the hotel product, while we do transient business, business people come in for 3 nights or for a long weekend for a couple of days during the week. When we're busiest is actually over the summer, because we get snowbirds who are down in Florida or in the Carolinas for most of the year, who want to come up for 3 or 4 months and be with their family, who book those hotel rooms as basically extended stay hotels for a couple months at a time. Wow. So what we, in the case of both buildings, both the Vanderbilt and the Selby, we really saw it as filling a void in the market that nobody else had built product to serve before. So it'll be coming online in early 2022, and it's going to be awesome. It overlooks Eisenhower Park. I sort of compare it to like, living on Central Park in the city. I mean, the views are awesome. There's almost nothing else that I can think of on the island that has views like that. So it's exciting.
Good for you, man. That's awesome. And that was a big risk. Like at the time, and I know we had talked about it, just selling it from a financing standpoint to the lenders, like the Vanderbilt was, no one had ever done anything like that before. And you got it done and end up performing way better than you even thought it was going to.
Yeah. I remember at the time it was tough to get bank financing because we projected rents that nobody had ever gotten on Long Island before. And so I had to deal with a lot of appraisers who were skeptical. But we had this, nobody had done it, but we had this idea, because we sell so much empty nester condominium product. We build all these communities, and the thesis is the same. It's people want to get out of their houses. They don't want to deal with maintenance anymore. They want amenities. They want community. They want easy living. And so, we knew the demand was there for condos, and we suspected that there were going to be the same people who had the same desires, but didn't want to own another home for whatever reason. And so we thought it would work for rentals, and we've proven it out. I just hope other developers don't notice so that we don't get any competition soon. I
want to close out with just talking a little bit about the potential. If you are already, I don't know if you are, but we, as a home builder and one of the biggest in the country, you can't ignore what's going on, the migration out of Long Island, right? So you see like Tennessee, you see the Carolinas, you see Florida, and I know you guys have a national reach. Are you guys looking into developing housing of any kind in other parts of the country?
Yeah, we are. Long Island's got real structural problems. New York State has real structural problems. Our real estate taxes here make it untenable for people who are just ordinary middle class people, right? It gets harder and harder every year to stay on Long Island. In a 5-10 year window, does that mean that Long Islanders won't want to buy in a Beechwood community? No, I think there are going to be enough who are going to want to buy. But long term, unless Nassau County and Suffolk County and the state do something about real estate taxes, it's an unaffordable place to live. And so we've said, okay, what are the markets that our buyers compare us with when they're deciding whether they're going to stay on Long Island and maybe move to a Beechwood community or move off island? And it's usually the Carolinas and Florida. So those are the two markets that we've been focused on setting footprints up there. And I'm hopeful that we'll have some good things to announce soon in the Carolinas. So we'll see.
Good for you, man. That's great. Listen, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. Thank you for popping on, sharing all that info. Just so people know, if you want to drop some of the names, I know you have a bunch of new developments going on. East Meadow, you're still selling down in the Rockaways, correct?
Yep. So real quick, Country Point at Plainview, age-restricted retirement community, 29,000 square foot clubhouse, plus community retail, a grocery store at the foot of the community, a Starbucks, a hair salon, a nail salon. We have a really, really famous restaurant opening this summer that I'm excited about at the foot of the community. So Country Point Plainview, Country Point Meadows at Yaphank out at exit 68. Huge townhomes, villas built to the best standards, half the price of what they would be in Nassau County and a third of the taxes. We're building the Latch in Southampton Village, 20 condominium townhomes, like half a block from Main Street. We've got the Selby coming online in 2022. We've got the Vanderbilt in Westbury. It's already open and operating. We're opening a new restaurant there in a couple of weeks, which I'm excited about, even in the middle of a pandemic. We've got the two East Meadow jobs. One is 48 homes. Another one's 104 homes. We confusingly named them Meadowbrook Point at East Meadow and Meadowbrook Point Gardens at East Meadow. So just go to our website and try to figure it all out. We've got one home left at our Country Point Smithtown community. So I would just say go to beechwoodhomes.com and we've got a home for you. If you don't think so, you're mistaken. So
you're awesome. Yo, it's great to see you. And again, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. You and I are going to do something crazy together one day.
Sounds good. I look forward to it.
Thanks, brother. Have a great one. All the best.
Be safe.
All right. So that concludes the Titans of Long Island Real Estate. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Those are some of the best of the best in my network. Obviously, you know I'm a handsome home buyer. So if you have a house that smells like cat pee, is dated from the 1960s, 6 inches of mold on the wall, human waste floating past the basement steps, you know I'm quick, I'm easy, I'm a good time, and I always want to buy at 516-777 sold. Obviously, if you need permits, plans, anything permit related. Not quite H2M yet. We're not there. So if you're building 250 units, don't call the captain. But if you have a deck, a shed, a new construction home, interior alterations, legalizing a basement, or you just want to chat with the boys and just, kick around some permit related questions for those realtors out there. I know it's something that few people understand, that it's always changing. So we're always here. You can hit us up at 516-513-8838. That is a wrap. Thank you all. Stay safe and enjoy the day.